The disputed throne. The battle for the Alaafin of Oyo. Oyo, the historic heart of Yoruba culture, stood at a crossroads. For centuries, the kingdom had been a beacon of tradition, its throne, the Alaafin's seat, symbolizing wisdom, leadership, and the continuity of its people's heritage. But with the passing of the last Alaafin, the revered palace became a battleground for power, pride, and politics. 2 years had passed since the throne was left vacant. The kingmakers, traditional custodians of the process, had diligently fulfilled their duty in selecting a successor. After a thorough review of royal candidates, they chose Prince Lukman Adelodun Gbadegesin. Known for his deep understanding of Yoruba customs and a passion for preserving his people's traditions, Prince Gbadegesin was seen as the ideal leader to guide Oyo through the challenges of the modern age. Yet tradition faced an unexpected adversary: modern governance. Governor Seyi Makinde, wielding the power of the state, rejected the kingmaker's choice. Instead, he announced his own appointee, Prince Abimbola Owoade, a reformist whose vision for the throne clashed with the deep-rooted customs of Oyo. The announcement sent shockwaves through the kingdom. High Chief Yusuf Akinade, the Bashorun of Oyo and leader of the kingmakers, was swift to respond. Together with his fellow chiefs, they issued a public rejection of the governor's decision. In a letter to Governor Makinde, the kingmakers made their stance clear. The letter began, "We convened in accordance with the Alaafin of Oyo Chieftaincy Declaration of 1961. By a majority vote, we appointed Prince Lukman Adelodun Gbadegesin as Alaafin. His name was forwarded for approval, but you refused to act without explanation." The kingmakers accused the governor of violating tradition, calling his actions unlawful, invalid, and null. To the kingmakers and many citizens of Oyo, this was more than a dispute over a name. It was a battle for the soul of their culture. For centuries, the process of selecting an Alaafin had been a sacred ritual governed by ancestral laws and customs. By overriding their decision, the governor was not just challenging their authority, he was threatening the very fabric of Oyo's heritage. As tensions escalated, the once peaceful streets of Oyo became a stage for protests and debates. In contrast, younger voices, inspired by Prince Owade's modernist ideals, argued for change. The dispute soon found its way into the courtroom. The kingmakers filed a lawsuit against the governor, seeking to halt the appointment of Prince Owoade. Lawyers on both sides argued fiercely, their words echoing in the packed chambers. The question before the court was simple yet profound. Who had the ultimate authority to appoint the Alaafin? The kingmakers, bound by tradition, or the governor, representing the will of a modern state? Meanwhile, the two rival princes remained at the heart of the conflict. Prince Gbadegesin, dressed in the flowing white agbada of his ancestors, met with community leaders and elders, pledging to protect their heritage. His speeches were filled with proverbs and wisdom, a reminder of the values that had guided Oyo for generations. Prince Owoade, on the other hand, took a different approach. Wearing a modern agbada with sleek embroidery, he held rallies in urban centres, promising progress and reform. Oyo cannot remain in the past, he declared to cheering crowds. We must embrace change if we are to thrive in the modern world. The divide between tradition and modernity grew deeper, with both sides gaining fervent supporters. Families were split in their loyalties, and the air buzzed with heated debates about the future of the kingdom. As the court deliberated, the tension in Oyo reached its peak. The kingmakers, undeterred, continued their campaign, visiting villages and reminding the people of the sanctity of their customs. An Alaafin is not just a ruler, High Chief Yusuf Akinade said in one gathering. He is the embodiment of our ancestors' wisdom. This throne cannot be reduced to politics. Finally, the day of the court's decision arrived. The courtroom was packed with spectators, reporters, and representatives from both factions. The judge, an elderly man with a deep knowledge of both Yoruba traditions and modern law, addressed the room. The Alaafin's throne is more than a seat of power, he began. It is a symbol of Oyo's identity. This decision must honour both the past and the future. As he spoke, the courtroom was silent, the weight of the moment pressing on everyone present. The ruling was delivered, but the story does not end here. Regardless of the outcome, the battle for the Alaafin's throne revealed a deeper question. How can a culture rooted in ancient traditions navigate the forces of modernity? In Oyo, the answer is still being written. The throne, a symbol of unity, now stands as a reminder of the delicate balance between preserving history and embracing change. And as the people of Oyo continue to debate, one thing remains clear: the legacy of the Alaafin will endure, shaped by the voices of those who fight to protect it. Thank you for watching Seen and Heard Stories. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more captivating African folktale stories. See you in the next story.